Hey, welcome to Aussie Online Growing on Shopify. My name is Rachel. This is episode number 96 and it's called Ask Your Agency These Questions. This is not a hater episode and this is not me like pointing my finger at anybody type episodes, but I wanted to do an episode about if you have an agency that looks after some of your maybe social media marketing or email marketing or Facebook and Instagram ads or TikTok ads or Google ads campaigns, all that sort of stuff. If you have an agency, I would like you to consider perhaps asking them some of these questions. I have a list, and these questions are really to help you as a business owner understand a bit more about your agency, maybe what they're doing for you and how they're performing for you, or maybe ways that they're not performing for you in as good a capacity as they perhaps could be. So like I said, it's not a hater episode. I know some of my listeners are agency people. They work in the industry. So these might be even questions that you might find if you work in the industry and you are an agency owner or work for an agency, that perhaps to understand from the customer's point of view and from the client's point of view. Maybe these are some things you could implement in your own business to serve your customers better and your clients better. Or from the other side of the fence, if you are in e-commerce and you're a store owner and a small business owner, or you have a store or a boutique and you want to be online more and you're looking for an agency, then these might be some questions that you want to keep and ask along the way to really feel like you are understanding what they're doing for you, and maybe ways that they could serve you better or get you better results, or even just give you confidence as a customer of an agency that you're spending your money well. You're not wasting money. You're not being ripped off. Like I said, not a hater episode, but some really good questions to ask your agency, and just to maybe be aware of some of these things if you're looking for an agency to work with. Of course, I have clients. I'm a little mini agency. I'm a bit of an anti-agency. I'm just me, and I don't like what I see that goes on in the agency world at all. So this is a little bit why I've made this list. But of course, if you want some Facebook ad support or an audit of your existing ad account, an audit of the existing data that you have an agency that's running campaigns for you to check and feel secure that you get like a second opinion and see if the data and their performance measures up, then reach out to me through my website and book a free discovery call. You can put it right in my calendar and we can chat about your business for 25 minutes for free, and then go from there. So of course my website address is in the show notes, and it's Aussie Online Growing on Shopify.com.au. So let's get into some of these questions. I have many. When I started making a list, I couldn't quite believe how many I had. So I'll go through them pretty quick, not because I don't think they're important to chat about, but I like, as all of us do, I've been so caught up in life the last few weeks. I'm getting fast approaching falling behind with my episodes, and I'm going to end up skipping a week soon, which I really don't want to do. So the quicker I make this episode, the more time I've got to record another one straight away and sort of try and use my time wisely there. So the first question, or the first thing I think is important, is you should really decide on your goals. As a business owner, when you employ an agency, you investigate an agency and you look into one, decide what you need them for. And you don't need to know the details, of course, because that's their job. They should work that stuff out for you, as you know, you're their customer. But you do need to know what it is you need from them, or what you're lacking, or where you feel the gaps are, or what you needs improvement and needs work. You know, if you haven't posted on organic social media for 2 months, then that's probably something that needs work. If you haven't run Facebook ad campaigns ever, or if the last time you did it perform terribly, or you need to grow your customer base and you want to reach new customers, you want to get some customers back again, you sort of know that's kind of what you want to achieve. So you need to kind of go into this relationship with some goals in place for you as a business owner to begin with. The reason I say that is it's very easy to get bamboozled by someone trying to sell you something. Like, we come up against that every day. Hey, like, that's not news to us, particularly if you work in marketing like I do. Like, it's kind of a bit of what I do. So you just need to probably feel like you understand a bit about why you need this agency to begin with, what you hope it's going to do for you, so that you're probably not, I guess, sidetracked or sucked into some like shiny object syndrome. Like what I've talked about before, like if someone reaches out to you with a cold call or an email and gives you a cold email and says they can improve your website conversion rate, then you speak to them and find out by changing some different colors on your website and add to cart button. Like, Really? Okay. But like seriously, that's kind of like concentrating on the waves lapping over your toes when there's a tsunami coming. Like there's really certain priorities that are priorities and some things that are just frankly a distraction. So try and understand or at least have a clear picture of what you're lacking in your business while you're reaching out to these people in the first place. In the same vein, then clarify the expectations. This is particularly important for me who works with clients, but clarify the expectations. So have a discussion. What do you need? But if you haven't clarified expectations with your agency recently, you perhaps are being taken along and they're performing things for you and campaigns and giving you back feedback and metrics on revenue and ad campaigns and email marketing and various things that seem good, but perhaps they're not really what you need. They're not what you'd really expected. Like, what are your expectations? And then make sure you get clear expectations from the agency as well, so that you're really both understanding what's going to come out of this relationship. So what are we agreeing on? So what can we agree on? Because then, like I said, you'll find then you're less likely to kind of just go month to month to month with well, we might do this. Let's try this. We could try and improve this. We might try this. Like you will sort of feel, I feel like if you have some clear expectations, you are less likely to kind of go month to month to month, not really knowing what you decided in the beginning, what they said they could achieve for you in the beginning, and where things are sitting now. Because now suddenly the project has morphed into something else that you never really decided in the first place you needed. Like, oh, now you should be on TikTok. Why aren't you on TikTok? Let's worry about that for you. Maybe, maybe not. So if you have clarity around expectations to begin with and then revisit those as time goes on. So this may be something your agency does for you anyway, which is great. But if not, reach out to them and just ask them a question. Hey, can we just check in and have another call? Can we just chat about how things have been going and just where you see my business moving in the next 6 months and what you plan to do to achieve these results I'd really like to see, or these expectations I have? Is that reasonable? That sort of stuff. So in the same vein, maybe, is you probably want to take some advice from them on a daily ad spend. So how much do they suggest you spend? There's always a budget involved from your end as a business owner, of course, but depending what you want to achieve, this goes back to the first two things, it will dictate a bit about your budgets as well. So I really want new customers. I want to see lots of new customers through my website. Okay, how much do you want to spend a day? Probably $3. Okay. That's not going to happen. So that's where just knowing what your goals are and deciding on the expectations from both sides, and then a budget that correlates with those expectations. So you'll know then, and you'll have clear guidelines. So maybe ask them how much they suggest you spend. You don't want to decide from the outset with an agency you need new customers, and then you say, but you only want to spend $4 or $5 a day, and they go, okay. They're just going to take you along on a ride. You'll be like chugging along month after month, paying all this money, getting little to no results, because that budget doesn't correlate with that sort of goal. Number 4, I should number these. I didn't put numbers. Number 4 is a little bit, again, these are also linked. I'm sorry, I keep saying a bit like the one before, a bit like the one before. This one's like the one before. Maybe there is some suggested tasks you can be doing as a business owner to support the agency's efforts. For example, if you are going to run some Meta ads, some Facebook, Instagram ads, and you haven't done ever, or you haven't done in the last year or not for a long time, and you also don't post organically on social media hardly ever, well, ask your agency, whilst you're running these campaigns for me and I'm committing to spending this money with you for the next 30 days, 60, 90 days, is there some things I could be doing as a business owner to get the best bang for my buck? Is there some things I could be doing as a business owner with myself or my staff to really support the dollars I'm spending with you and on my advertising? And they will say, yes, there probably is. Some of those things might be boosting your organic social, so bulking out your organic social channels more during this period. It's probably sending more emails during this period to your customers and your potential customers or your leads. It may also be things like writing some blog posts, some content that the agency can then go ahead and use. So it's not always content. When you ask the agency this question, they might not always come back with you to say things like, we need more content, we need more content, we need more content, because that can be very overwhelming as a business owner. I understand if you get that feedback from an agency, it can kind of make you freeze and think, oh, I didn't want to do this to begin with. That's why I got an agency. But there might be some other things that still may get a better bang for your buck that aren't just give me more content. It might be write a blog post or send a few emails. There's some things like that. It's a good question to ask them. Another one is, how many reports am I going to get from you in a 30-day time period? How often am I going to hear from you so I'm not twiddling my thumbs, kind of in the back of my mind, this nagging thing every day? Will I hear from them today? Will I hear from them today? Will I hear from them today? And then you don't, and then weeks roll by, and then you start to get really anxious. They could be working their butt off in the background, but you wouldn't know it because they haven't reached out to you to let you know. So ask, how often can I expect to hear from you? If you haven't heard from your agency in a while, reach out and ask them, hey, when can I expect my next catch up or my check-in or my next report from you guys? It's always good to know that upfront how often you're going to get something substantial back from them. And of course, you want some transparent data included in that. By transparent, I don't mean every metric under the sun. There's no one's going to sit and read that. You won't understand it. I don't understand half the metrics that go on in the back of, Google and Facebook. There are just hundreds of them, not for joking, hundreds of them. And they're not all created equal. But what data will they give you? And then if you don't understand a metric, just ask. You're always better to ask. Okay, so you gave me a report and you said that this particular metric was really good. Oh, okay. Based on what? And what does that metric even mean? How did that metric come to be? What is that made up of? So what does a unique click-through rate mean? What does reach mean? What does frequency mean? So if they're giving you check-ins and reports and data back and you don't actually understand the metrics, just ask, because it's in the agency's best interest and your best interest, in both of your best interests, to understand what's happening with your dollars and with the agency's time and expertise. They want to perform, like they want to do what's expected. Like they don't want to come to the end of a contract with you and find that you are unhappy, nothing worked, you didn't get information, no questions were answered. Like that's a bad vibe for everybody involved. And it's terrible. That's terrible. So just ask. If you don't understand, ask them and find out how many times you expect to hear from them, and then what's included in that report. What can you expect to see in that report? Because some of the things you expect to see in that report should be directly correlated with your goals and the expectations at the beginning. So if you're getting a report 90 days down the track and then the metrics they are giving you are good, they say they're good, they seem good, they seem like they're performing, some things are performing well. But if none of those metrics relate to what you had talked about to begin with, it's useless. That money will feel wasted to you because it's not meeting what you had expected or from the beginning. And then you need to reach out and say, this is not matching what we had chatted about. I don't understand what's happened. Where's this metric, or where can I see this result in the data you've given me? And then maybe let them clarify that for you. And if they can't clarify that for you, it's time to move on. Like if they can't tell you, oh yes, of course, I understand what you're saying. You needed to see more email signups. Well, that metric is here. Okay, great. Thank you. That feels really good. Or I need to see more email signups. Well, we actually couldn't achieve what we had told you we would this time, or this last 60 days or 90 days and 30 days didn't really work. So we're going to try something different, but it performed terribly. Okay. At least they're being transparent, and then you can decide from there how you feel about the relationship, where things were before, and your confidence in them moving forward. But those questions need to be asked and answered. So make sure the data is transparent, and you need to ask every question so that you understand what they're giving you back. You're paying for their strategy, their expertise in strategy, and for building these campaigns and measuring them and optimizing them for you and your business goals. You can pay someone to do that. That's what you're employing this agency to do. If you had the hundreds of hours of your own time to go and work this out, maybe you would. But that's not what we do as CEOs. Like, that is not our job to be the employed staff member in every role of our business. That's not how business works. So you have entrusted them to get some metrics for you, do some experiments for you, see some improvements, and meet some of your business goals. You just need to make sure the data they give you back reflects those things you need to see, and then their evaluation on whether they were good or bad and how they can be improved, and you can make decisions then about moving forward from there. The next one is how many points of data are they comparing? So they're looking at Shopify, Ads Manager, and Google Analytics. And maybe if your agency is a really large, big, like multinational, international agency, they'll have some very cool reporting tools and lots of third-party plugins and all sorts of funky stuff to be able to give you some really cool data in some very interesting ways, like charts and all sorts of things, and be able to really cross-reference data very cleanly. I use Shopify, Google Analytics, and Ads Manager, so I can compare those three together to get an accurate picture. But of course, there are many really incredible, super expensive software plugins you can get that also give you some accurate data. So you want to see a report from them that doesn't just include Ads Manager. Unless you are only asking them to give you some results that are based on the platform, in other words, engagement, video views, comments, likes, shares, on Meta, so they're not leaving Meta, these metrics are just being achieved on the platform, then Ads Manager will be pretty accurate because the data is there on the platform. But since 2021 and all the various privacy updates since then that have rolled out, which has been many, then data, once someone leaves Meta, is pretty cloudy. And cloudy is okay if you know that, and if you know where to find a more accurate cross-reference in Google Analytics or Shopify or other apps and plugins. So data that's just giving you a report back that's just inside Meta is okay if your data is only living in Meta. Your goals are related to Facebook and Instagram and on-platform activity. If you're trying to get people to complete a lead generation form on your website, well, you probably want to see a different platform measured and cross-reference with Ad Manager to make sure that it's really clean and cleaner than it would be if it didn't include Google Analytics, for instance. Another one would be interesting to find out and to ask is what audiences is your agency using? I could just check in with them. Are they using a mixture of audiences, or have they been like hammering the same one to death? Are they using one cold interest audience that they have used for 6 months? Are they using just lookalike audiences? Are they using just retargeting audiences? Are they really covering the whole broad marketing funnel? Are they really using audiences from top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel? Or are they just using the same audience they built for you 2 years ago and they're continuing to use the same one over and over? So that's a good question to ask about the types of audiences they've been using recently, and do they have suggestions on improvements? It's always good to come back with many of these questions as, do you suggest a change? Can you suggest an improvement? Can you suggest an increase in efficiency? Can you suggest, what do you suggest? You're paying them for their expertise in that. So push it back. These questions don't need to be all answered by you and solved by you. Otherwise you wouldn't have an agency to begin with. But you need to push it back to them to solve it for you. So I have this problem. I have this niggling feeling. I'm a bit uneasy. I'm just not sure. What do you suggest? How do we solve? What's next? What can we do? So put that back to them to answer that for you as a business owner, because you are their customer. The next one is, it's always good to ask about frequency. I love frequency as a metric, and I do look at it quite a bit because I feel like frequency tells us a lot of things. It's a bit of a story. So what's the frequency on your campaigns? If you've had a campaign running for 90 days, for instance, and its frequency in the first 30 days was like 2 or 3, and now after 90 days the frequency is like 7 or 8, there's a story in that change. That same group of people are seeing this ad again and again and again. Your audience size on Meta has shrunk so much that you're now hammering this group that was here, which was perfect, and now you're hammering this smaller group. The audience has shrunk. And why is that? And you potentially have ballooned your budget unnecessarily. So frequency is a great metric. I like frequency for many reasons, and that's sort of one of them. So it might just be an interesting question to ask. Do you have a blog post that you push traffic to? What was the frequency in the first 30 days of that campaign, and what is it now 90 days later? And what does that tell you? What does that tell you about the campaign, about your audience, about the content, about your budget? Again, not necessarily questions you need to be answering for yourself, but questions your agency can answer for you. And the last question, I didn't number them, so I don't know what number we're up to. The last question is, what's my last question? Let me have a look here. Yeah, that's actually very similar to my first point. What am I saying? I'm talking to myself. Like my last one is very similar to my first one, is to map out the data and the outcomes every few months. So even though month to month, you might look at smaller metrics and individual campaigns to see how they're performing and how the agency is doing for you based on what you sort of hoped or needed from them. Every few months, you're better off to do a bit of a bigger check-in. Like, how are things going overall? What do they suggest moving forward to scale your business or to increase your revenue or increase your sales or get your website traffic up? Is there things they can suggest to you or big holes that need plugging that you can probably look at as a business owner as larger projects? Ongoing, like long term. It's a little bit like the question I said about, there's some tasks you could be doing to support paying for advertising. For instance, sending some emails or bulking out your organic social. If after 3 or 4 months, it'd be good to visit your agency and say, this has been so great. I really appreciate the work you're doing. It's obviously, some things are obviously performing really well. We're going well. However, since you guys do this for a living, what do you suggest could be another project in my business that would be worth addressing to help support my ads manage, my ads budget and my marketing efforts? Something, for instance, like they may say to you, you could really do with some better SEO. You probably need to put some work into SEO. That would really help. Or you probably need to boost your organic social more, like build out your organic social more. Or is there someone you could employ to do that project? So I guess every few months is always good to check that while the campaigns might be doing well as an isolated part of marketing, when you look at the whole broad skill set as a marketer and the different things marketers can do and agencies can do. And if obviously an agency should have come to you with this sort of information anyway, because they want to be doing more for you to support your business better. But if they haven't, then ask for an opportunity to chat with them or to see what it is they suggest to you as a business owner moving forward with some bigger projects or some more meaty tasks that you might want to consider having them take on board or getting a contractor or taking on yourself or a staff member. So then it sort of takes out the, we're not just looking now at your ads account, you're not just looking at what you spend with them as they manage your Facebook and Instagram ads, but you're asking them to employ, more of their skills in the marketing team. They probably have other marketers who work in the agency, which is probably why they've already approached you with these sorts of things. But if they haven't, you want to ask them more questions about a holistic approach to your business. What other things, bigger projects, bigger tasks, should I be paying attention to or considering to budget as a business owner that will help my business moving forward to continue to grow as you continue to manage my Facebook ads? I think that makes sense. It's sort of like the first point, but a little bit different. So there's a few things on that list. As I was reading through it, I think I left out one or two, as I'm probably just doubling up on the information. But I hope that was a little bit interesting and a bit different. So if you have an agency, maybe some of these questions you might want to ask them next time you check in. Send them an email. Email whoever it is your contact is at the agency and ask some of these questions of them and get them to do that work for you and to come back to you with their expertise and their analytics on data and things that are happening, and make sure that they can obviously not appease you as a customer. What am I trying to say? Clarify and give you confidence as a business owner that your money is being well spent and the time is well spent. There's always a learning period and a bit of a teething period with these things, of course. So I'm not talking about after 2 weeks with your agency, if things are if these things aren't answered for you, but I'm talking about months. If you've worked with someone for a long time and some of these things you've never got answers to before or never considered before, perhaps you want to reach out and ask them some of these questions. So that's today's episode number 96. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you want to reach out for a free discovery call, feel free to do so on my website. You can book it in my calendar at Aussie Online Growing on Shopify. .com.au. As a business owner, hey, we have plenty of things on our plate, and marketing is not what we are built to do. That will not grow our business moving forward. We're the CEO, and these decisions a CEO needs to make are different than a marketer needs to make. If you need some marketing support in your business so that you can worry about the CEO stuff, then please reach out to me through my website. Book yourself a call. We can chat about your business for like 25 minutes for free and then see if we're a good fit. So moving forward to work and support your business more. Thanks for hanging out. As always, we are the captains of our own ship. So keep learning. I'll see you guys next time.